question everybody wants to know is who's going to win the presidential election? Who's going to control the Senate? Which party is going to control the House? Will one party get a trifecta, president, Senate, and House, that will let them govern the country effectively for the next 2 years? Well, nobody has a crystal ball, but I have a prediction. Donald Trump wins the Electoral College 297 to 241, even though he loses the popular vote narrowly to Vice President Harris. He does it by flipping Georgia, flipping Pennsylvania, flipping Wisconsin, Nevada, and Arizona. Narrowly losing Michigan, but it's possible that he could still win that. What about the Senate? Well, history tells us that the Senate doesn't always go to the people leading in the polls. In the last few elections, the Real Clear Politics average of Senate polls has shown that three people on average who trail going in to election day end up winning. And it's not accidental who those people are. 10 of the 11 races that had come from behind wins go to the candidate from the party whose presidential nominee either won the state in a presidential year or carried the state in the previous year. In other words, party trumps person in today's senatorial election. That means if I think Donald Trump is going to flip those states, I think Donald Trump is going to carry the Republican candidate to victory in most of them. The exception is Arizona, where Carrie Lake has her own negative vibes going on from her election denial and her constant litigation and arguments against McCain moderate Republicans from her failed gubernatorial campaign 2 years ago. She remains in every public poll well behind Donald Trump. And even if Trump wins, he would have to win probably by 5 points or more to carry Lake over the line. In every other state, if Trump wins by a point or so, he'll carry the Republican. That means Dave McCormick wins in the Senate. That means Sherrod Brown, in a state that Trump will probably win by 7 to 11 points, loses in Ohio to Bernie Moreno. That means that Eric Hovde beats Tammy Baldwin in Wisconsin. And that means that Sam Brown, the man who everyone wrote off about a month ago, becomes the next senator from Nevada. What about the House? Well, the House is going to go in line with the presidential popular vote with a twist, which is that if Harris wins by only 1 point, it's really a jump ball, but I think Republicans will keep control, that they'll add a couple of seats, maybe as 5 to 7, to the 221 that they have coming in. Of course, House races don't get a whole lot of polling, so we could see a lot of stuff going on there that we can't figure out. But if Harris only wins by 1, that's 3 points less than Joe Biden won by. And there's more than enough districts that Trump will carry that I would expect that would counterbalance many of the losses that Republicans will get in seats that they hold that Biden and Harris both carried and will carry. How will this translate? How could this be wrong? Well, what I'm doing is mainly taking a look at where the national partisan advantage is that for the last century, Democrats have gone into virtually every election with an edge in partisan identification. Sometimes it's small, like 1 point in 2020. Usually it's larger. There's a lot of evidence that in the last 4 years that flipped. If we have an even partisan split, which would be the second most Republican electorate since 1932, that's the margin that I'm looking at. But if there's even 1 point difference, if there's more Republicans in the electorate than there are Democrats, then it could be even better for Trump. It could mean a 56th Senate seat and another state in Michigan. Of course, if it's worse, if there's a very high turnout of Democratic groups that don't usually participate even in presidential years, Harris could do better. And if Harris does better, the margins are fine enough that Trump could lose. But I think the balance of the evidence says this is a good field for Republicans. America has seen the Democratic Party in the last 4 years, and it's willing to give Donald Trump's Republicans a chance. And that's what my prediction is. Trump 297, Harris 241, Republican strong majority in the Senate, and they get the trifecta that they crave.
For more stories like these, be sure to subscribe to the New York Post right here on YouTube.